Well, guys and gals, we have defeated the dragon, the credits have rolled, and the game is over. What are we going to do with ourselves now? Well, it just so happens that at the time we did that, some controversy has developed in the Minecraft community. And this is going to be kind of old news by the time this video gets to you, but I think it's still worth talking about because I've been reading through the comments and I think we can meet in the middle. It doesn't have to be all one way or the other. So let's talk about that, some of the issues and how we can resolve them. But what in the world are we talking about? First of all, well, we're talking about these glazed terracotta blocks. What is the deal with those? Are they ugly? Are they Minecraft? Are they not? Well, a lot of people are saying they are not. But first of all, let's quickly glaze over what's going on. First and foremost, we're in creative because look at what we can do. Oh yeah, it's like magic. That is, I think, one of the best additions to this particular update is that you can quickly, by holding shift and hitting one of your number keys, go through quite a few pre-saved slots here. And I've set mine up to represent this color palette that we see in front of us. If you don't know already, you can just basically set up your toolbar however you want. Press Control and a number key, and it will save that hotbar to whatever number you selected, and then press Shift in that number, and it'll pull it right back up, and you can just cycle through them real quickly like I'm doing right here. So, what is the deal? Why do people hate on this block so much? They say it's not even Minecraft. Why and how do they say that? What do they mean? Well, I think I accidentally came across it. And I'll be honest with you guys, I'm kind of torn. I'm somewhere in the middle. And I find myself in the middle on a lot of controversial topics a lot because I think it's really important that whatever side I see first, I try really hard to try to see the other side because whoever's arguing that other side is a human being just like me, and they have, in their mind at least, a good rationale to what they believe and why they believe it. So I think it's important to hear them out. So let's try to hear out both sides of the arguments for these blocks real quick and see if we can come to a conclusion. If I leave something out, please let me know in the comments below. I think the conversation around this stuff in the community is really interesting, and we want to see if we can talk it up a little bit and see if we can come to some conclusions. We might change some minds, we might change our own minds, but enough talking. Let's dive into it. Now, how did I accidentally discover exactly why these blocks are not Minecraft? Why do people think that? Well, I think subconsciously one of the reasons might be that that they don't fit in because they look they're a little too detailed for the default texture pack. And if you don't use an HD texture pack like I do, and mine is the faithful texture pack, it's basically the default texture pack on steroids, I guess you could say. It's just smoothed out. It's 32 pixels by 32 pixels, each block is, instead of the default, which is 16 by 16. Now, I'm using, as of the recording of this video, the most updated resource pack that Faithful has put out with, of course, my little add-ons for these dark blocks and other stuff that we've discussed in previous videos. But yeah, this is the most recent one, and it took me a minute to realize they have not actually updated for 1.12 completely because these pixels right here, or these blocks, are only 16 by 16 pixels, whereas the old blocks are, like you can see, sand is a good example right here. Sand is 32 by 32 in this resource pack, but because this one hasn't been incorporated in the resource pack yet, you can see those pixels are twice as big. And I didn't realize that for a while because they're so detailed, and then the concrete blocks are so smooth, and there's hardly any color variation. I did not even realize that those weren't covered in the texture pack until I was halfway through placing these blocks. And I'm like, oh, wait a minute. These are old resource packs. So I think if you're in the old resource pack, these look almost out of place because they're almost HD. They're not, but they kind of feel like they are because of all the detail. So I think that's part of the issue. And then also there's this brightness. Look how saturated this stuff is. In this color palette, it doesn't look too bad, but when we go start placing in the world, I'm going to show you some examples. It is a big difference. Now, this could be good or bad, but Mojang has actually tweeted out recently that they are going to update Minecraft default texture pack so that everything's uniform. They realize and they know that these blocks are very saturated and they don't fit in with the rest of the environment and the rest of the blocks that they've made in the past as much. And you got to realize this game is constantly changing, and it's not a bad thing. That's what keeps it fresh and fun. So take that into mind and just let them make some decisions, because I'll be honest, right now I don't like the saturation. In fact, all the changes that I've made to my texture pack from the Faithful one, all the add-ons I've done, have been to kind of desaturate stuff a little bit. Like the cactuses are super bright green. When we go over the desert in a minute, you'll see that mine are a little bit more neutral colored, a little more realistic in my opinion. So I'm not a fan of this big, bright, bold color decision they've made here. But you know what? We'll see what happens and what they come up with. I'm sure it'll look good. And if it doesn't, guess what? We still have all the other resource packs to our disposal. But it's important for me to stay true to what the default is as close as I can, because I want it to be relatable for everyone who watches my videos. So let's talk about the next issue. The next issue is, how do we place these blasted things? Well, let's grab this one right here because I think it's a good example, and we'll do something like that right there. They are placed, and this is not new news. The direction that you face is the direction they're placed. So if I face this direction, it is looking a little bit different. Whereas I face this direction, again, it kind of makes a circle because I'm facing a new direction each time. But if I don't, then it doesn't, and it kind of messes that circle up. So it's a kind of a pain to place in the regards that if you're in the middle of a build, you actually have to break down your build in order to squeeze your body in the place that it is that you need to place the brick or the block. So that's a little frustrating for some people. I understand that. But you know what? We have a few other blocks that are similar, and that's just the way it is. We're going to have to live with it. That's fine. But what's the easy way to remember? Two ways. One is just find a point on the block when you place it down that you can keep your eye on. This, for me, this dark black circle here, or the gray, whatever you want to call it, this part here is in the bottom right corner when I place it. So that means no matter what direction I face, it's going to be in the bottom right corner. If I face this direction, boom, bottom right corner. See? This direction, oh, bottom right corner. But that's not where I want it. Oh, okay, because I want it here. There we go. So if I want to complete this circle that I'm making right here, then I want this dark spot here to be in the bottom right corner. I've got to face this way. So I instantly know, and it's that easy. It's not too bad. Once you place your first block, you can kind of figure it out pretty easily, just like that, if you guys were struggling with that. The next big issue is symmetry. A lot of people like to build on odds, and by that I mean, well, odds, 3 blocks wide, not 2 blocks. But these, as we just laid out a minute ago, are arranged in such a way that they are only 2 blocks wide. See the 4 block area there instead of this 3 block area here. So now if you have a door or a center of your build right here, well, guess what? This circle is not going to be in the center of your build anymore. That's a little bit frustrating because you can't place something like that. Now, there might be some workarounds, and we're going to discuss that now. Now, let's talk about this world. We're going to discuss that next, sorry. But to transition to that very poorly, what's the deal with this world? Where can we incorporate these blocks? That's what I want to do, is try to incorporate these into our world here in Sparta. Well, Sparta, I don't think we can. If you guys have been watching the series very long, you know the builds that we have here. We've got sawmills and industry area over there, some farm fields and things. We've got some kind of old shacks and stuff over here, and then we've got a few houses in our blacksmith over here. None of that stuff, to me, makes any kind of sense with these detailed blocks here. Now, we could probably put this brown powdered concrete in the paths. The green could go some places. And actually, that could be some really cool looking stuff. But right now, I'm concerned about this stuff because this is the big challenge. This is the hard stuff to work with, right? So this is the block that's caused all the controversy. So let's see if we can incorporate it and make it look good in our world. And here in Sparta, I just don't think there's a way because it's too fancy. These Spartans, they're not that wealthy yet. Now, eventually, they may have a library one day. We may grow this town up to be a nice, fancy town one day, but we're not there yet, and they can't really afford these nice, awesome-looking tiles. But where could they? Probably somewhere where they're manufactured, like in a mesa biome, or even in a desert. That, to me, rings a little bit more of a tropical theme, which a lot of these blocks are very tropical. Or even Asian builds are very much incorporating some of these things, which is very neat. So let's go take a look at a couple of those. Instead of forcing those things, these design styles into our new world, if we don't have to use them, I'm not going to force it. So let's go find a place that hopefully we don't have to force it so much. Okay, guys, do you remember our desert theme that we did over here from that competition we had with Nodak? Well, we're back over here. We're going to try some stuff out. And if I talk quickly, I apologize. I got a lot to say and I don't want this video to last forever. Hopefully, it's at least somewhat entertaining for you guys. Also, if it looks a little bit different, because we're in the snapshot, Optifine's not released. So some of my stuff does look a little bit different than usual, but no big deal. So while we're over here, well, in my world, what I like to do is incorporate specific colors for specific areas. This is something I picked up probably from BOO. Maybe a few other people do this. I don't think it's super uncommon. But the idea over here is this desert area. They've got kind of a, what is this? A kind of a teal color. What color do we call that? That's this one, cyan. Cyan and orange theme going on. And that's kind of, I guess, the nation or the state or city colors, whatever you want to call it. That flag up there is kind of the cyan and orange colors. And I just thought those two colors went well together. And since we've got some red sand builds that are that orange color, that's what I decided this area would be. So that kind of limits our color palette selection. Now, I could put any kind of color I want in here because in the real world, people would do that. And we may do that as well. But for now, I'm going to stick with the only block that actually makes sense with this color palette to me. Because if we look at these other ones, they're just, we've got some blues and stuff. I actually thought about this white one. That might work out. I'm not sure. We could probably figure something out. But for the sake of my sanity at the moment while I'm trying to figure this stuff out, we're going to just stick with this one block, see how we can incorporate it into our builds here. And I'm going to give you guys a hint. I'm having a hard time with it, and I'm going to show you some of my struggles and how I've overcome those. Hopefully that will help you out a little bit. But one thing I like about this, and the reason I think it's a great fit for this area, is because I feel like now, okay, let's pay attention to what I talked about earlier. It's going to be in the upper right corner. So that one needs to go here. Upper left, I meant here and here. Now we have created what looks like a bit of a desert flower, in my opinion. I think that's pretty cool. Now, something somebody pointed out, and we can do the same thing here. So I want that in the lower right. So if I want that to be, nope. How do I want this? Not like that. We want it to be here. There we go. Lower right. I'll get this one day. See, it's kind of difficult, isn't it? That's another kind of a tropical looking flower to me. Maybe a desert bloom or something, or even a bit of a pond or oasis. So I think what is the image in the terracotta block is representative of the area that you want to build in as well. That's something to keep in mind that will kind of help you pick which block to use in an area along with the colors. So let's dive into it and see what I came up with, because I've already done it. You can't really see from here, but one of our issues, right, was central. Like, look at this. It's odd blocks, right? How are we going to put something in here on an odd block and it still look good when these are obviously designed only to work with evens? Well, the only way that I can come up with is you got to split it. So that's what I did here. We put the little orange flower design up here as a tiled roof, and we just put a little divider right down the middle, and I think that turned out okay. It's still not my favorite design. I'm not forcing it so much, but I think it looks okay. But just trying to come up with some concepts. Now, the other thing is over here. We did the same thing, except I kind of reversed it a little bit, and I focused on the blue to go with our little pond area here. And I think that looks pretty nice, recessed back in there like that. Now, to me, these blocks are not intended to cover a huge wall or even a huge floor. I think they can work like that. But for the most part, these are meant to be, well, they're in the decorations panel. If we go into our toolbar here, we can go to the decoration blocks, and that's where all of these things are saved. So they're meant to be decorations. They're not meant to be the main focus. So for me, that's the maximum I want to use these right here in one area. I want them to be covered by something. I think that's the key to making these look good. So this central bar here not only allows you to use these in a odd build, but it also helps break it up a little bit so it's just not too overwhelmingly detailed. Which is crazy because I spent all my time trying to make my builds more detailed, and here I am saying it's a little too detailed. So, hey, while it's getting night, let me go rest real quick. So what I was trying to say a minute ago is that we want these to look a little more subtle. That's my personal opinion. You guys might have a different opinion. Let me know what it is and why. But if we want these to be a little more subtle in the design and in the brightness, then we could do something like this. And by the way, this is the smallest odd build we could have, right? This is a one wide build, and it works out because I went flip-flop back and forth like that, and it gave it kind of a random tiled look. But when you cover it up like this, it makes it even more random tile. And so you don't realize, oh, this is supposed to be part of a set. There should be another block over here. Covering it up not only allows you to build in this odd build style like this, odd number, I mean, not instead of even numbers. But it also breaks it up and makes the build itself a little more subtle. Now, when you do this, you guys know me. I want this to be recessed back here. I don't want it to be on the same level like this where it's a flush. That doesn't look good to me personally. So I want it to be recessed. That works out perfectly. Except the problem is my builds are fairly compact. I don't like to build huge builds. I want it to feel realistic because, you know, in real life, each of these blocks would be like 3 foot wide. Well, this is a 6 foot wide area here, 6 foot wide here. This is actually a pretty good sized room if this were real life. It's just that the blocks themselves are so big, right? So when you make a compact build like I do, you end up with these situations where the blocks break through to the next side. Now, these blocks actually broke through like that, and I could have left it like that. But I think it adds a little more interest, and that's a little too much for me. So the key, again, is break it up. Make it just a hint. You want to just kind of see a hint of it. And that to me is realistic because people will do that in their homes. They will put some crazy wallpaper or tile situation going on. And if you do it in just one little area like a backsplash for a kitchen or something, it looks pretty good. But if you had your backsplash, your tile, your floor, your cabinets and everything, all these crazy colors, it gets a little crazy. It really is a little too much. So I say break it up like that, and that will help your design a lot better. Now, on the other side, we got this situation here. This is the other side of that tile from the pool. And it created a little bit of a problem for me where you had this area right here that's flush that I don't like. And it just doesn't make a lot of sense to me. So I decided to break it up with this situation going on right here. And I think it looks okay. Someone might have a tile look like that in their building, especially in certain areas of the world that are a little more Mediterranean. Or something like that. This could fit very well. And I think that we're in one of those environments in this desert world here. Now, of course, it doesn't go down here and do that, but that's just what it is. You just kind of have to deal with that. Sometimes you have to make a little concession in this game, and that's okay too. So that's what I came up with over here, and I think those turned out pretty good. So those are some ideas for you guys on how to hopefully overcome the issues of building on the odd, because all of these are built on odds. But I think they worked out pretty good. And also the issue of space. Like, how in the world do you make this work with your space and not be overwhelming? Break it up a little bit. Over here, I tried to find something. Nothing worked for me. Now, this build is a little more, I don't want to say poor, but this area is very arid. They don't even need, you know, they have sand on their floor in here. So I feel like a tile is like I said, it's kind of a more wealthy kind of design situation. And so they got dirt floors, good grief, they're not going to have tile in this building. And I couldn't really find a way to incorporate it, but I think that's the whole key to this. Don't incorporate it if you can't, only if it makes sense. And I think it works out pretty good in this design here. So let me show you one other place that I think this kind of stuff would look really good. You guys remember Dragoon Monastery way back when that we made with Noodler? Well, we're back. If you guys remember that episode, you remember how I complained that the white hardened clay wasn't actually white. It looked kind of pink or peach in this area. So now that we have white concrete, by the way, the block that I was kind of looking forward to the most, I really, really like the idea of it. The inspiration's great. I went ahead and changed it out on this side. And as you can see, this stripe, I did the red stained concrete. This side, I did the red dyed or whatever, the red hardened clay, which is what it was originally. And you know what? I actually prefer the white clay in this instance. It's a little bit different because the white concrete looks a little too close to the snow. It blends in a little bit more. So yeah, I think I'm actually going to keep this the same as it was originally. I'm probably not going to even incorporate that change into the build. So, but I thought I'd give it a shot. See what you guys thought about it. Do you prefer the white or the concrete or the white clay? I think I'm going to stick with the white clay though. But let's take a look at the inside because I think that Asian themed areas are kind of interesting. If you think about the design, they're known to be very modern as far as very simple and very linear, and there's not a lot of detail. but at the same time, they're also known for a whole lot of detail in certain instances. And I think that's kind of fascinating. It's a little bit of both, isn't it? So let's take a look. I think that some of these tiles could work really great here. So let's take a look at, well, if I can push the right button, let's take a look at what I came up with over here. I thought now again, I think in this area, I think the light or the regular blue, let's see if we can find that on a heart bar right here. This tile, I think, would look fantastic out here in an icy area. Oh my god, it looks like ice shards, right? I'm going to have to find a place, maybe build a cave or something with ice shards everywhere. That would be super cool. Some kind of mystical environment for these guys. That might be their reason for living out here. That would be a lot of fun. So if we find something like that, I will definitely incorporate this block. But it doesn't make sense here because all of the stuff is designed with red and orange and white, right? No blue in any of the decor. So let's see what block options we have for that. Let's pick those up. Where are we at? Right there. That's the hot bar that I was looking for. This is the only red block we've got. Our black block has got some red in it, so that might work as well. And then maybe we could get away with some pink or something like that. But or some arrows for direction or something in the magenta. But let's take a look at what we did. If you guys remember originally, let's go around to how this was originally. I left each area a little bit different just so you could see. Originally we had the dark oak floor going all throughout, and then we had the acacia wood going a stripe down each side, and then we had a square in the middle. There's not a whole lot of episodes, so it won't be very hard to find the one with the image of this on. You can go look and see how that was designed originally if you do so desire. But in the meantime, we come on in and like I said, they're a pretty simple folk, but it makes sense that they put a lot of time and effort and energy into making stuff detailed and perfect as well. Here we're on a situation where we've got a central area. It's a center build with on odds like this, but there is no center area. Now what I did originally is I divided it like we talked about previously, and then I put a square in each corner, and that was the way we went with it. But this red stone, or the red dyed, what is this? Red dyed terracotta? Glazed terracotta, that's what it is. I thought it worked out. Oh, this one's all wrong right here. What are we doing? We're backwards on this block here for some reason. Let's fix that. This one went like that. There we go. This one I felt worked out okay like this. It is going to bother my OCD along with everyone else's, I'm sure. We kind of overuse that word, don't we? It's not really OCD, but it just bothers us. It's not the greatest. I really wish that this would line up perfectly. I don't like this is what I'm getting at. I don't like it, okay? Get off my back. I don't think it works here. I think you would... I really don't know how to make this work, guys. If you could come up with a pattern that would make this work, it'd be fantastic. But I don't see it because this one is too symmetrical to me. I'm going to show you the other design, actually, that I came up with. The only one that I could think that would work. This one doesn't to me. But before we go to that, let's look at our paths here. I did change this out because look at, this is what I was talking about, the difference here. Look at how saturated this is. I used to think that this block was saturated. It was too much. Like, it's orange. Good grief. Look at that bright orange. No, that's not bright, people. That is not bright at all. That is bright. Holy cow. Look at how bright that is. It doesn't look bad, but man, compared to what we're used to, it's just, it's in your face. It's almost offensive. It's crazy. So that's too much for me personally. I'm going to get rid of that, and I'm going to probably stick with this because this is not bright enough to me. And this is somewhere in the middle. So we may go with that. And I'm going to kind of show you the only other way I can think of to make this kind of design work. Well, it took me a little while, but I finally came up with a solution that I can live with. A little bit of a compromise. I went with a red stripe down here, red concrete, which is a little bit contrast. Well, I don't know if contrast is the right word, but it's a little bit bright for me personally. But it, at least right here, but it works perfectly with the tile here. Obviously, it was meant and designed to blend in with the terracotta blocks. They had those in mind since they made them together, and it blends in perfectly there for this little area that goes in between the design there and the pattern. And I think that looks really good together. And this is what I came up with. So here's another example of how to sort of make a odd design pattern work. So we are obviously on odds here. This is a 3-block door, and the same thing goes on that side of the room. So like I said, I just split it right down the middle. Not my favorite thing to do in the world. This is probably not my favorite design in the world, but you know what? I do kind of dig it. It's all right. And it allowed me to do a little bit of something there, gave me some inspiration for that center point, maybe a kneeling mat for these guys. If you don't remember the story from this world, it's just a simple retreat. These monks are super Spartan, not from the town of Sparta or whatever, or Spartans like me, but you know what I mean. They don't have a lot going on. I mean, for crying out loud, this is where they sleep. Just really simple people, but they obviously have a lot of time to put a lot of detail into certain things, and I wanted that to show. So I think that this is a great thing to put into builds like this. And there's a lot of it. Like I said, I would like it to be a little more subtle, typically speaking. But I think for this build, it actually works out like this. So, like I said, there's always an exception to every rule. And here I am breaking it within the same episode that I said it, essentially, for myself. So, yeah, I think that actually turned out pretty good. Now, let me address one last thing real quickly. And I can't believe I forgot this earlier, because this is the biggest deal to me personally. I think another reason a lot of people are upset with these blocks is that it means that we had another update without stairs and slabs, okay? Why in the world do they keep doing this to us? You know, I've been beating my head against the wall wondering why we never had stairs and slabs for these right here. I understand why we don't for everything. I understand why vertical slabs aren't a thing. I'm okay with that. But we already have stairs and we already have slabs in the game. Why don't they add these to the game? Mojang! It's the most requested thing ever. It has to be, certainly. It's all the time. And why don't you do this for us? Well, apparently, they only have a limited number of block states. And I'm not going to get into the details of that because, frankly, I don't understand it. And you're probably not interested. But there's only so many blocks they can add to the game is what it boils down to. And with stairs and slabs, each one of these are not only one new block, but they're multiple new blocks. This block here is actually different than this block there, the way I understand it. And those blocks are different than a block like this that's upside down. So there's many variations. Just for this one block, you're actually adding in a whole lot of blocks. So the idea is that you can add a lot more blocks like this that don't have the stair variations than you can if you add in blocks that do have the stair variations. So they're just trying to give us the most variety that we can have. With that being said, wait a minute. These are exactly the same thing. This block here is a different block than this one as far as the way the code works in the game. At least that's how I understand it. Why? I don't know, but that's the way I understand it. If I'm wrong, please correct me in the comments. So why in the world are they adding this stuff with all this variation like they do when they're not adding the stairs and slabs? I don't know, to be honest. I hope that that means that they have figured out a way to add more block states to the game. And I actually heard one time that they did. So I've been wondering if that was the case, why they haven't been adding the stairs and slabs to the game yet. But let's hope and pray, get on our knees and beg and plead with Mojang, please, for crying out loud, add blocks and stairs to at least things that make sense, like concrete. There's no reason it shouldn't have slabs and stairs. Same thing with the hardened clay. In my opinion, that's something that I personally get upset about. But again, be patient. It's just a game, guys. It'll be fine. If they never add another block to this game, I would still have inspiration to play it forever. But a lot of other people won't. So I do hope they keep working on it. And I do hope that they keep the interest high for everybody. And I really think the blocks with the slabs and stairs would really help with that a whole lot. So hopefully they do figure out a way to make that work and actually implement that into the game sooner rather than later. But overall, guys, I'd love to hear your thoughts on this whole thing. Do you agree or disagree with some of the statements that I've made in this episode? Does it make sense to you? And maybe I left something out like I almost did there at the end. The most important thing to me personally. That's the thing that upsets me the most. But overall, I think this is, like I said, this is for some reason, a huge controversial block. And I get the reasons why, but guys, you don't have to use it. And when you do use it, if you're like me, it's going to be very sparingly. It's no big deal. So hopefully that helps some of you guys. If not, I'd love to hear your reasons why not and what your thoughts are on the process. But in the meantime, guys, I think that's going to wrap it up for this episode. Next episode, we're going to get some shulker boxes, and we're going to do some real building, hopefully, because I've had to take a little bit of a break to do all this other stuff, but hopefully you enjoyed it anyways. I know that I certainly did, and I can't wait to see you guys in the next episode. Until then, I'm going to talk to you in the comments, and as always, keep it creative.